Belinda and HarperAudio Australia present this unabridged recording of Mega Rich Guinea Pigs Book 1, written by Kate and Jol Temple and read by Jol Temple. For our boys Arlo and Clancy, who make our lives mega rich. Chapter 1. Boom! There are two things you need to know about Magnus McAloon. The first is he was rich. Really, really, really rich. The second is he was dead. Really, really, really dead. It took Magnus many years to get so rich, but it only took him 2.34 seconds to get so dead. The whole thing had been a terrible accident. Not the getting rich bit, that had been on purpose. But the getting dead bit, that took everyone by surprise. Mostly Magnus. It all happened very fast. You see, Magnus had got so mega rich that he did what all mega rich dudes do. He built a rocket and decided to go into space. Turns out he should have stayed on Earth. If he'd done that, he'd still be on Earth. Instead, to celebrate his 70th birthday, he got in a rocket and blasted himself into orbit. It was a super high-tech rocket, the most high-tech rocket ever built. It had been Magnus's pet project, and he had personally seen to it that it was fitted out with the most awesome technology ever. And because Magnus had made his trillions and squillions by inventing tech stuff, he knew what he was doing. This is the coolest spacecraft in the world, actually the universe, just saying. There was an AI pilot that also served drinks, a zero-gravity squash court, an ultrasonic toilet that vaporized poo at the sound of a clap, and a laser cake cutter, just to name a few of his high-tech space gadgets. Magnus had also connected a live feed from his rocket to all his company offices around the world, and it was at 2:37 p.m. that his 1 million worldwide employees had been ordered to stop work and sing him happy birthday, so he'd be able to hear them from space. "I can't hear you," said Magnus, which was understandable since they were all the way on Earth and he was all the way in space. It was just then that Magnus decided it was cake time. His AI pilot presented him with a large strawberry birthday cake with a single unlit candle. Magnus took out the lighter he'd bought just for this occasion and boom! It turned out that even though Magnus McAloon was very clever at inventing technology, when it came to remembering that naked flames and rockets don't mix, not so good. Did I mention boom? The happy birthday singing couldn't be heard from space, but that boom could be heard in the next galaxy. Back on Earth, everyone was very upset. Pretty quickly, the question on everyone's mind was, who gets Magnus McAloon's mountains of money? Now there are fortunes, and then there are fortunes. Magnus had a whopper. It was so big he employed an entire team of people just to keep track of all his money. At last count, he had exactly 456 quadrillion, 565 squillion, 232 bazillion, 577 gajillion, 900 chameleon, 545, 112, 322, 787, 8444455555544, and 63 cents. Since writing that amount has gone up. It goes up $5 million every 3 seconds. Also known as a lot of bucks. But here's the thing. There was no one to inherit those fat stacks of cash. Magnus had no kids. He didn't even like kids. He didn't really like people at all. He loved only two things, money and guinea pigs. And boy did Magnus love guinea pigs. It had started back when he was 10, when he found 2 abandoned guinea pigs in a local park. He didn't know where they'd come from, but he knew they needed saving. So he scooped up those nervous pigs, placing them carefully in his jacket pockets, and named them Lost and Found. Magnus took those pigs everywhere. He even made them a little cozy hutch out of shoeboxes that he kept under his bed. For weeks he hid them from his family, who had a strict no-pets rule because of his brother's hay fever. No one knew Lost and Found were hiding out in Magnus's room, though they did wonder why Magnus seemed to be eating more veggies than usual. He was sneaking them to the guinea pigs. Unfortunately, his brother, a not very nice boy named Morris, had worked out what was going on. Morris had noticed that his brother was unusually happy, and I'm sorry to say it really annoyed him. After a few days snooping on Mac.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?